how means they are trying to tell you like how exactly you need to sync with the other people, and then how exactly you need to collaborate with them, and then you have to do. Okay, so let me pause this video and let me share you the slide, and so that we can go move further, and then I can play the entire video. Okay, so uh, where is the screen? Okay, yeah, uh, let me share. Share. Okay. Yeah. So here we are. Now the McKinsey definition says like clouds are a true cloud has to comply with all three key requirements. It has to abstract the underlying hardware from the buyer, and be elastic in scaling to demand and bill buyer on a pay-per-use basis. Now, first, hardware management is highly abstracted from the buyer. So, how exactly they are managing the hardware, that is not your concern, that is not my concern, because if we are asking for cloud, we are asking to get for subscription, we just tell these this much requirement is our hardware. Now how you are handling, how you are managing your hardware, that is not our concern, that is the cloud provider concern. Okay, now buyers incur infrastructure cost as variable opex. Okay, so this as I said, like means that infrastructure cost is a variable one of the cap. Now, infrastructure capability capacity is highly elastic. Maybe you can say like it has to be up or down. You can say. Now, cloud services, a cloud service only complies with two key requirements. It is the service where the underlying infrastructure is abstracted and can scale elastically or not. Okay, it could run on top of a cloud, although it is not required. Okay, just like you can say SaaS service as a service. Sorry, yeah, same way. Okay, storage as a services you can say. Yeah. Now here if you will go cloud example of Amazon or maybe Google Cloud or Azure, the hardware management which I said like it's highly abstracted from the buyer encourage customer, same 3 points. Now these are the example, best example. In the beginning of this talk I have already said like Gmail, you can think of it, that is the best example. Okay, now Zoho, Salesforce.com, these are the well-known cloud service example you can say. Their entire thing is on the cloud only. Okay, now let us move on. So cloud computing risk mitigation you can say, when you talk about, so privileged user access you can say, regulatory compliance they have to take care of, and they have to cope up with the regulation. Okay, now where the data location is, what data location is, data segregation, recovery, investigate, support long term viability and data availability. Okay, now challenges you can say, you have some sort of challenges means I am pretty much sure like, but uh, truly speaking these are the challenges means it's a rarely occur, or maybe you can say like rarely we can able to find that. So service availability you can say. Now service availability, you have to be always available. So their service means your service has to be always available. Now service lock-in, proprietary APIs, no interoperability. Okay, this is the challenges which I am showing, that is through the public only. Okay, so some challenges in the public cloud. Okay, now data confidentiality and auditability. Yesterday somebody has asked about this. Okay, so that is the challenge only. Now data transfer rate and cost. This is also one of the challenge. So you don't know, you are not quite aware about it. Okay, when you buy a private cloud, then you have to say like no, this is my data. It's like this is the requirement. Okay, now performance unpredictability. Now sometimes it perform well, sometimes it performs quite means like you can say like not performing well, so you can't predict that. Okay, now here if you are using this public cloud, then there is a difficulty called as debugging large scale distributed system, because you don't know how to debug the entire system, because everything is being distributed, and that is being distributed in a large scale. Okay, now automated tool for adjusting resource allocation quickly. So you know you have to have some sort of automated tool. Now maybe you require automated tool, and maybe you will ask them to provide some more tool, or maybe you can deploy another tool on the service, and you can to just monitor what are the resources allocation is being done and something like that. Okay. Now, reputation paid sharing, one customer bad behavior can affect cloud as well. Okay, suppose somebody is means behaving quite badly, then it quite affect your reputation, okay, by sharing the cloud. And yeah, software licensing is huge challenge as open source and clouds. Okay, I mean, so this is the challenge which I can say like we have listed out. So what about private cloud? Okay, the font size is quite late, but I can say private cloud has cloud platform shared with an enterprise, but not across. Means when you talk about private cloud, it's only private to you. Means like to your enterprise. It is not being shared with anyone. So which is good actually. Now the advantage of that is greater control over the infrastructure, data security, platform heterogeneity, and become non-issues. That means like you can say like there are multiple issues which I have showed that is not required here, that is not coming here. Now, can better handle legacy application like this. Suppose you have a very huge application, okay, and it's a quite very old application. Now you can handle easily here, okay, in private cloud. Now, apart from that, there is disadvantage, few disadvantage you can say. It's a designing and operating a cloud, a significant technical challenge. Okay, technical challenge means you need some expertise. Maybe you require some few people who has good expertise in the cloud. Okay, now public cloud provides achieve better economies of a scale. Okay, but here you know that because it's a private. Okay, now technology, as I said, like network is like this. Okay, medium scale is this much, means thousands of servers, and large scale is like more than 50,000 servers. And here you can say like network capacity is $95 per Mbps per month. Okay, so this is the cost I am showing you. So you can easily correlate the cost, how means exactly it is. So it is only required when you have a big organization, big enterprise. Now this might have variation in the range you can say, or maybe in the cost. Now you can say cloud come here, the multiple layer which I can say, and the example means I can give you the client. I can say like one of the best client is Internet Explorer. Okay, in the cloud layer. Okay, now service application, that is SaaS, which talk about one of the best example is Gmail. Now platform as a services, when I talk, that is a PaaS. Now you can see in Google app, you must have seen like multiple things in Google apps. Okay, so these are the example of platform as a services. Now storage as a services you can say, or infrastructure as a services you can say, like Amazon S3 and Amazon EC, Elastic. Yeah. Now when you talk about cloud computing, what is uh, the means you will always comes in mind which is what is good, what is bad. So the good is cheap, no doubt, scalable, that is also no doubt, and small startup cost you can say. The bad is what? Maybe hardware failure, or when talks about scalable, you can say they are still in a not in mature state, but I can say that it is in the mature state now. So these are the difference which I talk about. Rajesh, are you there or not? Rajesh,
Sir, Rajesh sir is there, sir, but he is not
can
getting
you
unmuted, sir.
can, can you unmute him?
Sir, we are trying, sir, but he is not getting unmuted. That is the problem.
Oh, okay. Anyway, let me share you the that the audio. Sorry, the audio, the video which I was sharing. Let it complete first, okay? Then we'll talk about. So please, it's my request to everyone. Please listen it carefully because it's quite useful actually. So if you want me to play from the beginning, I can play from the beginning. Okay. 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 Fine. Yeah. So let me start with the Ignu.
Sam, and we're part of the Google Apps education team.
Well, a lot of people have asked us why we decided to start building applications and really also to start offering them in an organizational or institutional context in schools and businesses. And what we saw was this trend evolving in the application space where consumer technology was evolving and innovating very, very rapidly. And so you look at the first instant messaging, the first blog, the first wiki, video sharing, mobile technology, virtual reality. And a lot of this was really happening in the consumer space. So we saw this increasing trend of user satisfaction, of innovation, where things were moving very quickly and consumers were very happy with the technology they had access to at home. And then we went out and we talked to organizations and we said, what does the world look like for you? And they were really facing a variety of challenges. The first was an explosion in the volume of information people were dealing with. There was the number of emails, the number of documents was just increasing at an exponential rate. And technology often wasn't keeping up. So people were really struggling just to do simple tasks and keep track of all the information they now had at their fingertips. The second real challenge for users was around collaboration. And whereas most of the applications we are using today were built for personal productivity, a lot of the challenges we face today are really about collaborating in a group. When I started trying to work with my team or my class, it became really challenging. The best example of this is just collaborating on a document. If I'm in a class and working on a group project with 4 of my friends, I might start with the document. And I send it out to my 4 friends, and 3 of them were on the ball, send me back some edits, and I spend an hour or 2 combining the edits and putting together version 2. I send that back out to everybody, and my 3 friends spend some more time making some edits. They send it back to me. But I always have at least one slow friend. My slow friend likes to come back and send me revisions from 2 or 3 versions before. And now I'm in a place where I'm just struggling to try and bring together the work everyone has done. This is just an example of technology that hasn't kept pace with the real challenges facing users. On the IT side, we saw a different set of challenges, really about complexity. There are solutions out here to many of these challenges, but all of them are very costly and complex to deploy and to manage. Really a nightmare for an IT folks. And so we often say, what does that environment look like for you today? And they say, well, we bought PCs, and there's some software we put on there. And then we started buying systems, email systems, directory systems, storage systems, mobile systems, content, databases, spam filtering. And then, of course, once we bought all this stuff, we realized that it's never allowed to go down as our president and our students are going to Beijing and Shanghai and Mumbai. And so we go ahead and we buy a second one of absolutely everything to make sure nothing can ever go down. And then we spend our lives just going around and patching and fixing and making sure everything works. And patch day Tuesday rolls around and we go again and just fix everything. And what this really meant to the institution was a lot of money that was not being spent effectively. We weren't effectively leveraging the time, energy, and the money we were investing in information technology. The other thing it meant for our users was that whereas we had seen this increasing trend of satisfaction in the consumer space, we saw a much leveler level of innovation and satisfaction with the technologies we had access to at school. So we at Google thought we can really help with this problem. If we can bring some of those Google technology, consumer innovation into this space, we can bring those trends back together and help people be as happy with the technology they have access to at school as they are with the technology they have access to at home.
We want you to take this complex environment that you've been managing, place it with an environment managed by an outside provider like Google. This provides you with all the applications simply to you like utility, accessible from any internet connection from any device. But this move is not without precedent. 50 years ago, companies and universities ran their own power plants. They had different voltages, currents, plugs. You couldn't take a device from one and use it anywhere else. And people thought that electricity was mission critical. How could you allow anyone else to manage it? Today, we wouldn't dream about managing our own electricity plant. What does this mean for you? As an organization, we see too much IT time and effort and money really spent on focusing on things that are not core to your business and focusing more on contextual services. This is not effective for an organization. And so basically, by moving to the Google model, you get to focus on the things that are important to you, things that are core to your organization and that add value. We see really 3 key benefits in the cloud computing model. First is that you get to leverage the infrastructure of the provider. In Google's case, this means massive data centers built for scalability, security, and efficiency. We set out to build the environment that runs Google.com. And one of my favorite anecdotes is that when my users want to see the internet up and running, the site they often go to is Google.com. The other key benefit of the cloud computing model is it allows a new kind of real-time collaboration that you've never been able to do before. Take the earlier document example that Jeff was talking about. In this new world, the document sits in the cloud, and everyone can be accessing and working on that document and collaborating on it in a real-time environment. The third key benefit is in the old world, we spent a lot of time installing hardware, installing and maintaining software. But really, this model is all about innovation. It's more about identity management. You plug in once and you get all the innovation delivered to you in smaller packages more frequently. So we consider ourselves a services platform, and we open it up to a lot of APIs. Some of these are things like account management, for a single sign-on for mail migration, and we also support open standards. It's really important in our world.
People start talking about outsourcing services and data, the first questions that they come to us with are really around privacy and security of data. I'd like to use a few examples to tell you how we here at Google think about these critical issues. The first example, my grandfather. See him here. He's a great guy, World War II vet. He still thinks that his money is best buried in the backyard versus being in a bank. So he actually puts it in a tin can and buries it under one of the trees in his yard. He won't tell me which one because he says he trusts me, but not quite that much. Now, most of us believe that our money is much safer in a bank than it is buried in the backyard, and we can get access to it from lots of places, whether that's a banking center in London or the ATM around the corner. Another great example is really travel. Now, most people feel safer driving than they do flying. But statistics tell us that you're much more likely to arrive at your destination unhurt taking a plane than you are a car. But there's just something about holding onto that wheel that makes us feel in control and more safe. And we think security of data is much the same. The reality is that while having that infrastructure in-house makes you feel safe, a provider like Google, who operates at a much larger scale, is able to secure that data much better than you could yourself. So the question is really about privacy. What is Google doing with your data? And I'll say 4 things to you about privacy that are really commitments to Google. First, we won't share your data. There are some obvious exceptions to this rule provided by common sense in the law. I'll go through those in a minute. Second, we'll keep your data as long as you like. We're not going to delete it because you haven't accessed it in so long or edited the document. On the other hand, if you want to remove your data, we'll remove it from all of our active servers. Because if you don't want a copycat, we shouldn't be keeping one either. Finally, we'll let you take your data with you wherever you want to go. Whether that means exporting a document to Word or Excel, or taking all of your mail and calendar data with you to another service, we're committed to helping you take that with you wherever you like. Now, there are a few exceptions to the first rule, and I like to go through these, calling them the fine print on the big screen. The first exception is the most obvious, when a user consents. You ask for us to share your document or a calendar with a couple of your friends or the entire world, we'll go ahead and do that. Second, sometimes we have to provide data to affiliates and subsidiaries for purposes of processing. A great example of this, when we provide data to Google Ireland for purposes of processing in our European data center. Sometimes we have to provide data to third parties for valid legal processes, enforcement of our terms of service, to prevent fraud, or protect against imminent threat. If you'd like to know more about Google's privacy policies, please visit google.com/privacy.
So what is Google Apps? We start with Google Apps platform, and then we add a bunch of collaboration tools. These include Google Docs, which is our word processing, spreadsheet, and presentation tool. Google Sites, collaborative team working environment, and the Google Personalized Start page, a personalized ramp-up of all these tools that we talk about. Then we add a bunch of communication tools, Google Mail, Google Calendar, and Google Talk. We also have a set of security and compliance tools that we can add to the package for an additional cost. So what is it that we give education? Well, Google Apps Education Edition is free for students, faculty, staff, and alumni. There's no advertising for faculty, staff, and students, and we give you 6.5 gigabytes worth of storage, and that's growing on a daily basis. It's at your domain, and it comes with support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also give you access to those extensibility APIs that we mentioned that allow you to integrate with your existing systems and build on top of them.
We think Google Apps is a great set of tools to help your students, staff, and alumni more effectively communicate and collaborate.
It allows you to simplify your infrastructure and leverage all of the great innovations that you bring out. For more information, please visit our website.
Thank you very much for patiently watching this film. And now we will go to yesterday's assignment that we have given to you. Praveen, you can see my screen?
Not yet. Rajesh, are you able to share or not?
No, I'm not able to share.
Why? Means because I have already stopped sharing.
Just a minute.
Or else, Rajesh, what should I do? Means like maybe I can take them through the assignment which I gave it to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
So let us not waste our time, and we can share at least mine.
Yes.
Okay. So let me open that. Meanwhile, maybe means once you will be able to, please let me know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
Yes, some people are waiting. Can we go for the question and answers?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Meanwhile, Rajesh, you can try keep on trying, and we can take up the questions. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Nagi Durga Arvind, sir, you are unmuted, sir. Sir, Egiriti Nagi Durga Arvind, sir, you are unmuted.
Okay, sir. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
You are audible, sir. You are audible.
Yeah. Hi, sir. This is Arvind from Newton's Group of Institutions, Macharla, sir.
Okay.
Fascinating stuff from your end through all these 4 days, sir.
Okay.
My thanks to Chevrolet Engineering College for hosting and organizing such a wonderful program, sir. And especially my sincere thanks to Praveen sir and Rajesh sir and technical people behind this, sir.
Thank you
Sir,
so much.
my question here is, what happens when we exhaust the maximum failed attempts for authenticating ourselves via Azure?
Can you come back again? What happens with?
What happens when we exhaust the maximum failed attempts for authenticating ourselves via Azure?
Okay, nothing. You just need to send the mail again to them.
So, sir, I have exceeded my limit, sir. Always I am typing a wrong password or
Okay.
my user ID. What happens? What Azure do at background?
At
Then
that time,
Microsoft will give you the correct password, and you type in the correct password that Microsoft has sent you as a mail, and then you will be able to log in. If you are still making the errors, it is your problem, and it is not a Microsoft problem. That is what I want to say. Microsoft will give you the correct password that you need to type in when you have paid their subscription fees. What
Sorry. In general, in other applications, we see that it is going to block for a certain period of time, depending on the attack, what we are doing, what kind of application we are using. If
here
it is,
you need to call Microsoft, and Microsoft will give you the correct password. And if you enter your correct password, then for the services that you have registered or you have paid for, those services will be given to you.
okay, sir.
Sir, actually, the thing is that even we are using in industry quite a bit most of the cloud platform, and even we face the same issue. But even you will exhaust with everything, nothing has to happen. You have to just mail it. They will quickly respond because there is a bunch of people sitting behind your application, your app, Google app, or maybe whatever. Okay, so they are quickly reply you back with your ID or maybe password, because even we are currently using daily using the same thing. Okay, so we are also facing, sometimes we used to forget or maybe it expires, so we used to just send them a mail. There is a separate team, you can say, they used to respond you, means like the moment you will send them.
Okay. Sir, my second question, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, can we develop all types of applications with Azure?
You can.
Okay.
As far as the cloud provider is concerned, there is no limitation. The limitation is only in your thought that you cannot develop.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
The cloud provider will aim to provide you all the facilities so that you can develop uh, these.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, like means it's not a thing like you cannot develop. Means most of the thing in cloud means everything you can develop. It depends on your capacity. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
Next
Next one,
question.
Yuvraj NN. Sorry, we're unmuted. Yuvraj NN. Sir, can you please read out? Yuvraj sir, are you there?
Yuvraj sir, we are not able to hear you properly. I don't know,
No
your
problem,
voice
sir.
is.
Next, Suresh Kumar
Okay.
sir, CH. Sorry, we are unmuted, sir. Suresh Kumar sir, CH.
One sir, Praveen Singh sir.
Yes, please, sir.
Sir, may I know the major difference between Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure?
So truly speaking, it's just a different difference between the company. That's it. It's not like they have their own set of things.
Security, according to the services security, what are the
See, truly speaking,
major
we are the
difference between Google?
we are the one who are using cloud services. Okay, so means as in big banks or maybe big places, you can say like everybody is using. The major difference, I cannot comment on anything right away, and I can, because see, there must be a difference in how they are managing. Okay, which we are not, means like we are not responsible for that, and we really don't want to know that, means because they are not gonna tell us. Okay, anyway, but means truly speaking, even I am not able to figure it out what exactly the major difference is. Yeah, means people are used to keep on reporting, but yeah, the difference is which one comes first, which one comes later. That's it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Sir,
it's
next
not.
one.
In the world today, AWS is the biggest, and we can say that the services of AWS are the best which are there. But it doesn't stop us from using Microsoft or Google or Oracle or IBM Cloud. It is just a matter of whichever company that we are like, we can go with, and we can use the cloud. And if we are using a lot of Microsoft products, then it is best that we use the Microsoft Azure cloud, because many things are compatible and interoperable.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I completely agree with Rajesh. As Rajesh said, Microsoft Azure. So why he's saying like even there is a survey which comes up right, means like maybe year back, you can say like means like 500 Fortune companies are using 50% of Fortune 500 companies are using Azure. So because of Microsoft having a lot of products like what is that? Microsoft Word, Windows. Everything is being used in an organization or maybe in enterprise level. So maybe that is that compatibility are already available in Microsoft. So maybe you can think in that perspective. But as I said, like nothing is stopping you. Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
It depends on your CEO to make the decision like which company he wants to go with, and wherever he is finding the cheapest cost, he will go with that because he has to run the company, whether it be any company like Britannia Biscuits or whether it be any company like Bottled Bread. Then he has to basically make the decision of running the company in the cheapest manner. So he will use the cloud, which gives us the maximum facility and the minimum cost. That is how the CEOs make the decision.
Yeah, please, next question.
Sir, next one, Sivakumar Chande, sir. You are unmuted. Sivakumar Chande, sir. Sir, are you audible? Sivakumar Chande, sir. Okay, next one. Hari Krishna Bomala. Sir, you are unmuted, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir, you can go with your
Yes, sir,
question.
you can please ask.
Sir, are you there? Hari Krishna, sir.
Yeah, he has lost the connectivity, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Putta Rajesh Shekhar.
1 second, sir. Some people are not. Yes, sir. Suresh Kumar CH. Sir, you are unmuted.
Sir, actually forgot to say thanks to Rajesh sir and Praveen Singh sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Thank you for providing a
And
great
what-
session, sir.
And what is your question?
I already asked you a question, sir, but at the end I forgot to say thanks to you.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Thanks for your great session, sir, and it's more informative to us. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Ah, yes, thank you. And we expect that you will basically do the practicals. And once you do the practicals, at that time you will get more idea.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please be in touch with us. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, we are unable to unmute that Bhutta Rajshekhar, sir, and Sivakumar Chande, sir. They are not.
Okay. Then please, if anyone else having doubt, please let us know.
Yes, sir. Some posting the doubts in the chat box, I think.
Hari Krishna Bomalla. Means he's
Somebody-
available now. You
What is
can
the
unmute.
difference between Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services (AWS), and which will suit for the which situation?
So as I said, like if your enterprise is quite big, you can go on with Microsoft Azure, but still it's a quite means a debatable question. I don't want to answer this. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you. And next one, Hari Krishna Bomala, sir. I think he also lost his connection.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Yeah. So Rajesh, are you going to share or should I?
You can show the whatever you like, but
Okay.
I want to show the case study and see what the people have done regarding the case study.
Okay. So let me show them first the assignment which I gave it to them. I'm
Okay.
pretty much sure nobody has tried yet, but yeah. So our work is to show you and to go through what exactly we have shown you. If somebody has tried, please let us know. Maybe you can ping us and please send us whatever. Okay. Now let me go through. So First one, let me show you the case study which I showed you up. Okay, okay. Let me go to the, okay. Yeah, so I gave you one assignment. I don't know whether you guys have gone through the attempt or not. Yeah, so our assignment is Amex is a leading credit card provider that get thousands of credit card application every year, but in the past few years it has experienced increase in the credit loss. The CEO believes that the customer. This is what the assignment which I gave you, and I gave you the solution as well. I said like you have to prepare the data, okay, and you have to use application and demographic data. As I mentioned here, demographic database model and ML based model using demographic as well as credit bureau data. Now let me share you the, yeah, sorry. Uh, so yeah. So are you guys able to see my screen now? Which screen currently I'm showing you?
Visible, visible.
So it's a data understanding one. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now the first step which I asked you for everywhere is first you need to import the data and then you have to apply. You have to do analysis on univariate and multivariate. Now this is the first step which you need to. So two data set I asked you, like one you will get demographic data, another you will get credit bureau data. Now first let us understand demographic data. Now demographic data is this one. Now let us know how many columns and everything are available in demographic. Now you can see these are the application ID columns are total 12 number of columns are available. Application ID, age, gender, marital status, number of dependent. As I said, I have already given you the solution. Just I haven't seen any mail from you guys. I haven't got any mail from you. Nobody has done any attempt on it. So I just wanted to give you a walkthrough on it. Okay. Now see, gender, marital status at the time of application, number of dependents, income, education, profession, type of business. These are the These are the data which means we used to get through application. The moment you entered the bank and you wanted to apply for some maybe card or maybe for some loan, you used to give these data. So these data we used to capture and we used to use it for analysis. Okay. Now we can note that demographic data has these many rows 71294 data entries across 12 columns. Okay. Now one of the column is nothing but the response, which we can say as target variable. Now if we will keep moving, now you will get some sort of information here. Let us just have a look of what is available in credit bureau data. Okay. Now credit bureau data must have application ID, the same application ID which you are getting in demographic data. Number of times the person has DPD. Okay, in last 6 months, DPD is nothing but days past due. Okay, so number of times in last 3 months he has become the delinquent. Okay, so these are the data for 30 days also, for 90 days also, for 60 days also. Now average credit card utilization last 12 months. Okay, so you have to mention that number of trades opened in last 6 months. So how many number of trading account you have opened and excuse me, and number of trade opened in last 6 months, in last 12 months, number of real trades opened last 6 months and 12 months. So this is the means the data which currently we already have. Okay. Now presence of, is there any home loan which are currently going on, outstanding balance which are available in your account, now total number of trades. Okay. Presence of open auto loans, how many auto loans, how many cars
Praveen sir is not audible, sir.